good evening, and welcome to another session, another sip and learn session with Visibility. My name is Mary Mashakbayadeyami. If you have not met me yet, I am the founder of Visibility, or VB as we fondly call it. I'm always super excited to host these conversations. Just a little bit about Visibility and a little bit about me before we kind of get into the meat of the day. Like, we are a social first organization that is working really, really hard to improve the outcomes for Black women in the marketplace through inspiration, coaching, and community. It's an organization that I have been running for the last 2 years. And I do this actually alongside my day job as an executive director within the credit investing team at Goldman Sachs. I love the work that I do, and I particularly love running an organization like this that is so close to my heart and really represents who I am, not just as a Black person, a Black woman, but also as a professional and one who's just really passionate about seeing women who look like me just doing so well and thriving and excelling in whatever sphere that they're in. So with that, this evening we have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful guest. I met Yetunde Hoffman probably about a year ago at a speaking engagement that we both had the opportunity of being on. And I just saw her passion. And I think the one word that really rings to mind for me was just authenticity. One of the values that I hold really, really dear is around just being authentic within the life that I'm living, and in the stories that I'm telling myself and telling others. And I think that was just one thing that I just really took away from just meeting her, and I was just also inspired, and I'm sure you guys would be as well. And I think, as if you're a member of the Visibility chat room tribe group, as we call it, we've been talking about leadership all month, and you would see just the whole story of this year, the whole story of this month as it pertains to the events in Nigeria, the EndSARS protests in Nigeria, and the unfortunate ending of that situation. You would see, like, really our world is in desperate need. Like, we're literally crying out for empathetic and honest leadership. And when we get that, I think that's when we start getting, equitable results in the world, and we start seeing the world that we actually want to see. And so I thought it was important to kind of gather around this topic. It's interesting that when we started talking about leadership, I did not envisage that we'd have a month like we've had. And so it just all kind of comes together. So Yetunde is a highly recognized voice on the topic of organizational leadership and just leadership in general, and just someone that I really admire so much. So she is an internationally accredited executive and leadership coach. She's a managing director at Synchrony Development Consulting, which is an organization that partners with other firms in the development and execution of change, strategy, diversity, and inclusion, and the alignment of their people and organization behind the way forward, and facilitates leadership teams in the development of their effectiveness. So it's a lot. So basically, she does amazing stuff. Whatever organization she's working with, she describes herself as a portfolio non-executive director, which basically means, like, her career is pretty much working with different companies to build strategy and achieve their goals. She has been a TEDx speaker in the past. She's a classical pianist. She's a conference chair. She's a speaker. She's a founder of the Enjoyable Life series, which is also another community organization. So different, but kind of similar to what we do at Visibility. And she's also just written an amazing book. I'm not sure if it's her first book, but it's a great book, and she will tell us a little bit about that. But it's called Beyond Engagement: The Value of Love-Based Leadership in Organizations. And one reason why I thought she would just be such a great speaker is really that ethos that she has around love-based leadership. And we call it like empathetic leadership, but really it's really about loving the people that are around you enough to really see them as equals and see them as deserving of a better world and equal opportunities and the like. So I've said a lot just because you can see how excited I am just about her. So I'm really just going to hand off to her now to kind of talk with us as her sisters, and just for us to grab a drink and all the good stuff, and just wanted to just share her heart with us and her story, and really just this ethos that she is the gospel of this ethos that she's spreading. I think it'd just be an excellent evening, and then I would come back in at the end and we'll just have a quick chat. So
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm Yetunde Hoffman, and it's just absolutely delightful to be here to spend some time with you. I'm very excited. And today I'm going to talk about how love and leadership can generate extraordinary results. And in my life, I choose to live by these tenets: love, leadership, results. I do it in my consulting work. I do it in everything that I do. It's how I want to lead my life. I'm not perfect. I'm not there yet, but it's certainly an aspiration. A brief overview of my career. So I started in Nigeria, and my last job before I stepped out to embark on a portfolio career was working at a FTSE 25 global business called Imperial Brands, where I was a global head of HR for the commercial divisions and driving growth across the world, many countries. Very exciting work to do. And today I have a portfolio career where I do some advisory and consulting. Like Mary said, I research, and of course, I'm a board non-executive director. But my pride and joy and what really inspires me is that in July this year, in June this year, my husband and myself, we founded a small church based in the home called Overcomer Church. And it's based on building faith, equipping Christians, encouraging on the old church principles, the church based in Acts of the Apostles. So firstly, I want to start by saying how grateful I am to be here, to Mary for giving me this opportunity to talk with you guys. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm a survivor of breast cancer, and I don't take living for granted. So I'm very grateful that I can breathe and I'm here. I'm grateful to people who've opened their doors to me in the years that to date and have helped me in my career. And I'm so grateful, really, really grateful. And I'm even more grateful because of the way our world is today. You know, it's full of turmoil. Who would have guessed? Who would have predicted 2020 to have been and to be what it's turning out to be? We've got COVID. We've had the shameless murder of George Floyd, somebody just murdered for the color of his skin. But it's just terrible. And people shut in their home as a result of COVID. And back home in Nigeria, I'm Nigerian. The way that the institutions that are established to protect people are operating is just amazing. And we've got people losing their jobs. There's so much uncertainty. Mental health is on the increase in terms of getting worse as opposed to getting better. And this is the world, and this is where you have to grow up, and this is where we have to lead and work today. And yet life must go on. You know that life has to go on. You've got to have school runs, you've got your jobs, you've got everything you've got to do. You've got to support people, build relationships, etc. You've got to support friends and even do the day-to-day things like shopping. And whilst you're doing that, you have a struggle for balance. And some of you will be balancing work and life and motherhood and sisterhood and trying to do stuff in the community, trying to build a balance. And I'm sure often you think, well, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? And yet, you know, you've got to find a way where you are, instead of being tossed and turned in the wind, you've got to be able to stand strong. You know, you don't want to be affected by everything that's going on in life and your confidence being sapped. What you want is still to be able to stand strong like a willow tree. And no matter what comes your way, you want to stand where you are, knowing who you are, your values, your beliefs, who you love, who you don't love, who accepts you, who doesn't accept you. But basically, being clear about what you are about. And this is one of the things that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of, and I feel I'm able to share that in spite of everything that's going around, I feel like I'm a willow tree. But you know, I didn't start there. I didn't start there at all. So my journey starts way back, way back. My career has been one of tosses and turning and moving around and lots of change, good change, bad change. And I experienced bullying, discrimination, even spite. So this is a job I did when I was in the north of England. I was the only Black female and the only Black person in the organization for a long time. But yet I was always trying to fit in spite of what I was experiencing. I still tried to fit in, and it carried on. And then I went into Unilever, where I had a very good job, a fantastic organization, but still not feeling good. How come I wasn't feeling great? And in spite of the success I was having, I still wasn't feeling good because I was desperate to be able to fit in. I wanted to climb up the career ladder and really achieve everything possible so that I would be admired. But I found that actually life is not like that. And this is my offer to you, ladies. My turning point came when I had the opportunity to go to Ethiopia. And I traveled there with friends and colleagues. And on the way, we stopped in Kenya on the plane to change planes. And on the way, we complained about the weather, the hotel we were going to stay in. We just were full of complaints, in our fancy bags and shoes, and complain. And we arrived there. And we had the opportunity to go and visit this awesome woman. This woman has had probably the most significant impact on my career and life to date. And we met this awesome woman who lived in a small room, about 10 by 16 or 10 by 10, very small room, single mom with her 4 children, about 100 meters from Addis Ababa's local rubbish dump. As you walked into the shanty where she was living, the stench was horrible. There was a gutter of running water through the middle of the shanty. And yet, she was so kind to us. She explained to us with pride how her home was strategically placed from the local rubbish dump and how she could get there early in the morning to rummage for food to feed her children. And as we sat there, we were thinking, oh my goodness, we were so silent, because how can somebody who has so little be so kind? And her son was gorgeous, not looking at us like, oh goodness, I want to go back to the UK with you. He gave me a beautiful rose. They were so happy when we went to their school. And yet they had so little, so little. And what was amazing is as we sat on the plane, on the way back to the UK, we were silent. All the chat on the way there, on the way back, we were silent. Because how could a woman that lived in such appalling conditions, how could she be so content and so generous, give us so much, and yet we that has so much, we're so discontent? Here's the challenge. So we began to appreciate, and I began to appreciate that actually it's not about what you do. It's not about what you have. It's not about your status. It's not about your job. Really what it is about is the peace you have within you, who you are as a human being, the people you can impact, the leadership you can demonstrate. And when you combine those two, your opportunity to achieve extraordinary results in the world becomes exemplary, and it expands far beyond your imagination. So you have the key. Each of us has the key to do what we can to unleash this love and this leadership to achieve extraordinary results. So what are those elements for your key? The first is you got to discover who you are. You are at an age where you've got your future ahead of you, so many years. But if I can look back to where I was all those years ago, I wish I knew who I am. And now I do. I'm thinking, oh my God, yesterday you should have been here much sooner. So you've got to spend some time discovering who you are. Because your longest relationship is with you. Nobody else, it's with you. And you've got to understand your beliefs, your values, what you love, who you love. Then you must pursue your dream. Are you in a job that you're unhappy about? Is there a dream that you had a few years ago that you think, am I ever going to achieve it? Dust it off the shelf. Put it back in front of you. Pray about it. Submit it to God and say, I've got to pursue my dream. That's what you got to do. Then pick your travel companions carefully. You know, Mary has established visibility. You have a fantastic network. Pick your travel companions, those people who will build you up, who will encourage you, who will speak positive things into your life. That's what you want to have. And then, of course, you must focus on your why. Every time you do something, even if you're staying where you are, why are you doing that? You must focus on your why. Remember always why you do what you do. The reason. This will always give you hope, because when life throws waves at you and you're thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? Go back to your why. When you go back to your why, it will help you stand up. And then it will stop you from allowing yourself to go into the doldrums. More than anything, you've got to find your joy. Find your joy. And joy is not the same as being happy, because happiness can be dependent on your job, your salary, what your friends say, what your family says, what your other half says or doesn't say. You know, you can have you be tossed and turned. But the joy I'm talking about, it comes from within you. You know, it says in the Bible, the joy of the Lord is my strength. What I mean here is the combination of a love for yourself, an unconditional acceptance of who you are, seeing you how God sees you, understanding your purpose in life, your why you do what you do. That combination gives you joy, and that has you be resilient. And that means when you go for that job promotion and you get a no, you're not in bed beating yourself or being disappointed at the rejection for ages. You can get up, dust down yourself, and keep going. When somebody says something negative to you, or your relationship, that person, that man that you are hoping would turn out to be the best husband or friend or boyfriend, if it disappoints you, you pick yourself up because you know who you are. So find your joy. And then with regards to leadership, there are 7 capabilities I would encourage you that if you were to put this within you, then you have a chance of making a huge difference in the world, a massive, massive difference. Let's start with them. The first one is you must be accountable. When you're accountable, it means that you are able to keep your promises. That what you say you're going to do, you do it. You don't have people second guessing you, whether it's your friends, whether it's your family. And by the way, you're a leader, not just in organizational terms. Everybody here and anybody in the world, whether you're ruling a nation or sleeping on the streets, you are a leader. We all are leaders, because leadership is about making decisions. It's about relationships. It's about setting a vision. It's about everything. Every time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you're leading. Because if you're not leading anybody, you're leading yourself. So the first trait is be accountable. Do not make promises you cannot keep, not even with yourself. Because when you break a promise, what are you saying? You're saying to yourself or saying to somebody else, you don't matter. The second trait of the 7 is be committed. If you're committed, it means you're going to follow through. You're going to finish what you start. Because nothing good comes easy. And that means being resilient. No matter how hard it is, you follow through. Whether you want to lose weight, whether you're trying to go for that promotion, whether it's a business you're trying to build, maybe it's something you're trying to do, maybe a skill you're trying to develop, whatever it is, be committed, be decided to finish it. Because when we think about the leaders in the world, people like Jesus, if he wasn't committed to the salvation of mankind, do you really think he would have seen it through? We have to follow through. Invest in your development. Now you might think, oh my God, yesterday, to invest in my development, I'm going to have to save up. I'm going to have to give up my holidays, give up that nice handbag. Yes, because that's nothing. But you can never, ever substitute education. So invest in your development. Thirdly, live a life of contribution. Live in contribution. How can you contribute to another person's success? How can you contribute to each other's success without expectation? How can I contribute to you? How can you contribute to me? Can you imagine if we were living a life of contribution? Would COVID have happened? Would NSARS be happening if we were living in that place where we're about? It's not about me. From a place of service, it's about you. It's about the team. It's about the world. Live in contribution. Because one day, when you're 80, 90, 100 plus years old, because we all will die one day, they're not going to say you had a big job. So-and-so was a chief executive of company X, and so-and-so, had a fantastic business. No, they're going to say, who did Yetunde impact? Who did Panashe impact? Whose lives did you make better? That's the legacy you're going to be leaving behind. Then you've got to be responsible. Know who you represent. Who are you a role model for? Who's looking at you? You may not even realize it. People you don't know will be looking at you. And when you say you are something, people are watching you to see whether you live up to it. So you must be responsible. When you make decisions, think about it. It's not just about you. It's about others. And for those of you who are leading people, you're not just leading those individuals. You're responsible for the families that they're leading. You're responsible for the communities they inhabit. So you must be responsible. Make decisions, not just about today. Think about tomorrow and the broader communities you're there to influence. Then you've got to be authentic. It was great to hear Mary say that I am authentic. And when I started out, particularly in my career, I wasn't authentic. It took me a while to get to a place that if I don't accept me for who I am, how on earth am I going to expect anybody else to accept me? And in fact, years ago, when I was at boarding school in Brighton, I would try to speak like my classmates, and it was so funny because it was fake. But I would try, oh, hello, and it was horrible, but I couldn't see it. Now I do. And I'm in a place where I say, well, take me as I am. Take me warts and all as I am. And if you don't take it, hey, c'est la vie. I'm big and ugly enough to lead my life the way I want to lead. I know who I am. I'm a member of a royal priesthood. I know my identity. I know what I'm about, and I know where I'm going. And I know the only person to who I am accountable for. So it's about being authentic, and I would encourage you, ladies, be who you are without condition and without apology. But of course, you've got to be yourself with skill, because it's important to know and be contextual. You want to be contextual because that's also being relatable. Engender trust. Trust means being consistent and being reliable. People want to work with people. They want to be friends with people that they can predict how you're going to react and respond in different situations. So you must engender trust. The most critical capability in leadership that I will encourage you more than anything to cultivate, to develop, to nourish, to seek in yourself and to seek in others is love. Unconditional love. Love means seeing each other as human beings. It means appreciating the beauty in people, the strengths. It means being willing to forgive. It means being ready to say, well, I've been where you are. If I haven't helped you understand, that's empathy. If we had love in the world, oh my goodness, will George Floyd have died? And yet it takes people in our educational institutions, in our places of work, to demonstrate love that comes with servant leadership, to say, listen, I have been given a responsibility to lead, and therefore I'm going to demonstrate that not only are you human, I am too. And together we can win. If we had love, there wouldn't be climate change getting worse. If we had love in the world, oh my goodness, there wouldn't be poverty. We wouldn't have the developing world overflowing with food, and the developed world overflowing with food, and the developing world thinking, where is our next meal coming from? It means that when somebody is suffering in your community, you would join hands and say, how do we support that person? This is the most critical leadership capability. It's the answer to productivity in business. It's the answer to engagement. And actually, it's the answer to extraordinary results, whether it's financial or non-financial, in organization and in life, in community and in society. So this is what I'm asking you ladies to invest in developing this capability. It's not soft, it's the toughest capability to develop. And I encourage you, if you haven't paid attention to it, start now. So in summary, you must unlock you. It depends on you. And then you must develop your leadership capabilities. When you combine those two aspects, those two levers, then I tell you, ladies, you will have extraordinary results. And if anything, life will be just that little bit more enjoyable, sweeter, not just for you, but for those who relate with you day to day, month to month, and in every aspect, avenue, domain of your life. So the question for you is this, two questions. What will you do to unlock who you are? Second question, how will you develop your leadership? Thank you.
Wow.
Well, if people want to carry on the conversation, follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Guys, virtual claps for Yetunde Hoffman. That was phenomenal. And I'm looking at the chat room. I think, yeah, people took a lot away. I'm seeing this is gold. Definitely focus on your why. Work in progress on my joy and purpose. I love this. Panasha says my head is hot. Wow. This is golden. Yeah, this is way more than I expected. Amazing, amazing. Wow, I'm blown away. I need to up my game. Like, I'm actually short of words at this point. I'm just like, okay. Yeah, super short of words. But thank you so much for that. Like, wow, that was, yeah, that was a lot. Okay, so recap. Be accountable, be committed, live a life of contribution, which is my personal favorite. Be responsible, be authentic, engender trust, love unconditionally. Amazing. And your two last questions were, remind us, what will you do to unlock
you? So to discover who you are, because it's so important. In spite of my relative good success in my career, a lot of that time, I still didn't know who I was. So I was always chasing the next job, and more status and everything. And even though I achieved a lot, I was still looking because I didn't know who I am. So it's so important. The first question, what will you do today, tomorrow, to start uncovering who you are? Because you all are something, you all have a purpose that's unique. Uncover it, hold it, That's the first thing. And the second thing, because you all are leaders, what will you do to develop your leadership? What will you do?
Okay, so we're definitely taking those to the tribe. What will you do to develop your leadership, and what will you do to unlock who you are? These are actually things that we have been talking about. We talked about leveraging strengths a few months ago now, and it was really about this, like, what are your values? What is your brand? All of that stuff, and really harnessing that and identifying it really well. Last month talked about communicating your values, as you start thinking about transitioning or, making moves in your career. And then this month we've been talking about leaderships. I think that really goes to that last question. So apt. So yeah, so guys, please drop in your questions in the chat room, and I'll do my best to ask. So I can already see one coming through. So how can women step into their leadership capacity? So you've given us some leadership capabilities. What I find sometimes is, like, there's always a moment in time, almost like a curious moment, where you almost have to make a decision to step in or stay where you are. Yeah. So what has that looked like in your career? And are there any sort of tidbits that you can share with our tribe here on how to actually take that?
Firstly, whenever you're offered something at work, say yes. Say yes. Always say yes. Particularly if you know and you sense, because, and why do I say that? A lot of times as women, we pause and we start to have self-doubt. But if you're offered something at work and you know it comes from maybe a quarter or somebody that you respect, and they're offering you the opportunity to do a project in addition to what you're doing, offering you a chance to go and speak somewhere, do it. Do it afraid. If you're worried, if you're afraid, oh my God, am I good? Just say yes and go for it. Absolutely go for it. That's the first thing you got to do. Secondly, as depending on the nature of work you do, if you're starting your own business, the first thing you do as a leader is you find out who do you need to have around you in starting that business. And you go and you ask them. That's stepping into your leadership. You ask them and have your first choice. Go, no matter, even if you think they're going to say no, ask. If they say no, no skin off your nose. You'll learn from the experience. So the first thing at work, if you're asked offered to do something, say yes. Secondly, if you're starting a business, think through, who can I have around me? Go and ask them. Have your first choice, have your second choice, have your third choice. Because nobody's going to say, can I come and help you? But if you ask, even if they said no at first, they might give you some ideas. So that's the second thing. And the third one is going to contradict the first. You must be ready to say no. Stepping into your leadership means also saying no, because somewhere, ladies, inside of you, there'll be things you're being asked to do, or you might feel you want to do, but deep down, if you paid attention to yourself, you would know deep down that you should be saying no, because what's it worth? What difference will it make? But it's going to stress you out. But you don't want to say no because you don't want to look back. That's leadership. Leadership means being willing to say no. And you just say the word no. Don't say no, let me explain. No, and just say no with a smile. If the person or the persons asking you want to know the reasons why, they'll ask you. They'll ask you, and then you can explain. So those are the three things I would offer you to step into your leadership. But I tell you now, you all are leaders now. If Mary said you looked at strengths already, you probably have your capabilities that you're looking at. If you analyze the context in which you all are operating now, I tell you without a shadow of a doubt, you all are leaders. But you got to recognize yourself first, is one.
I particularly liked when you said, and I'm probably going to butcher this in my paraphrasing, was when you said, we're all leaders. Even if you're not leading someone else, you're leading yourself. I was like, that's powerful. And then also when you said, like, keep promises to yourself and others. And when you don't keep promises to yourself, you're basically saying you don't matter.
That's right.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think I'm very, very good. And I think most people actually may actually be much better at keeping promises to others.
Yeah.
And not as
exactly
as careful about keeping promises to ourselves. So I think that that's so key.
Yes, because when you don't, what you're saying is you're not as important. You're not as important. If I don't keep a promise to myself, I'm saying yesterday I'm not as important to me as others. But that's terrible. When God created me and created you to be beautiful, He created us to be awesome. And then you say, well, sorry, dear God, you don't really, I don't matter.
Wow. Wow. Lots to think about there. Okay. So I think what I'll probably just thinking about your last 3 points would be you need to be strategic enough to know the things to say yes to.
Yeah.
And also the things then say no to, converse.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then have people around that you can count on and leverage. Okay. Great. And I think it really goes to this question about purpose. And I feel like this is one question that really haunts a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where we just kind of think like, is this one thing we're made of, and we get stuck there, and it's almost like quicksand. So what do you have to say to that?
First of all, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, only recently, it wasn't until I was, goodness me, in my early 50s that I realized that why do I do what I do unashamedly is because I just love nothing more than helping people and organizations get the very best out of all of who they are. It gives me joy. That's my purpose in life. And above that, actually, my purpose in life is to be a good follower of Jesus Christ. Right. So this is the way that I would encourage you, whoever's asking that question. You've got to first look within you and ask yourself, what do I love doing? What do you enjoy doing? What is it that I really, really enjoy? Question 1, write it down. Write it. Question 2, so I would love you, and this is something you might do over a few days. So don't just say, oh, in an hour, I'm going to discover my why. So the first thing, get a piece of paper. What do I enjoy doing? And don't try and make it, so you got to be authentic in that exercise. Don't try and, think of big things. Just write it and write it. The next day, get up again. Carry on writing. The third day, keep writing. When you're exhausted and you find that you're repeating yourself over and over, the second question that you should then answer, question 2, what am I good at? What am I? Because all of us each and every one of you, we have all been born with a talent and we have a gift. What am I good at that I'm great at? And it could be, and then again, keep writing. Am I good at maths, numbers? Do I like to, am I good at speaking? Am I good at dancing? Whatever, just write. Am I good at seeing the big picture? Am I good at strategy? Write it out. The next day, keep writing. The next day, keep writing. And then, when day 3, look at what's common between what you're good at and at the same time what you're great at, what you love to do, because it's not everything you're good at. So in my career, I was pretty good at employee relations, dealing with trade unions, but did I enjoy it? No, but I was good at it because I was told I was good at managing relationships, but I didn't like it at all. So you want the combination of what you love and what you're good at, that combined thing, and then step back and say to yourself, okay, but why? Then you ask yourself the question, for what purpose do I do this? Answer that. For what purpose do I do that? Answer that. For what purpose do I do that? Answer that. 4th question, who will benefit from this? Who are the persons that will benefit from this? Because your purpose is a combination of what you do that you are great at, that you love to do, that you know why you do it, and you're impacting somebody who needs it. And for those of you who are Christian, let me just give you this for free. One of your purposes, without a shadow of a doubt, is to love God and love other people. In the context of loving other people, that's where your why and your purpose comes in. Do you see? So that exercise I gave you, Because first of all, you got to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your being, for sure. Then when God says love one another, that love one another, that exercise I gave you, what you're good at, what you love to do, know your why, who are you impacting? That is where you'll get your why. It's not something you get at overnight, and maybe something, Mary, you guys can even do. You can support each other in those exercises. You know, you can get your little group together, maybe 4 of you or 5 of you, and ask that question over and over a few weeks, over a few months, and then you get it, then you refine it, and then you refine it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, you'll land in it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys can afford it, hire a coach. Hire a coach. You know, this is what I mean. Invest in your development. Sometimes, oh, how can I hire a coach? That's expensive. But in the next breath, you know, you go to the shops and spend £2,000 on a handbag.
Mm.
So hire a coach. Have somebody help you guys as well to do it.
Gosh, okay, we'll take that away as homework. So definitely more to come on that. And we last month when we did the Secure the Bag event as well, we actually asked some of these questions, and so there was a workbook attached. So those who attended that event, you would have got the workbook. For those who didn't, the recording of that event as well as the workbooks are going to be made available in the next few weeks, maybe a week or so. So you can probably pick that up, and I think it really gives voice to a lot of these questions. And you know, I actually, like, just sharing sort of personally, I've always sort of felt like I used to have this thing of like purpose, you know, but pretty much what you've just said is I've come to realize like that ground, like my purpose is super grounded just in Christ and glorifying God in every sphere. But beyond that, I also my understanding of it is like your purpose doesn't need to be singular in many ways. Like it actually can move, like how you express it and enjoy it and live it out can actually move as you age and as you because the things you like and the things you discover about yourself, they move as you grow and as you develop and stuff. And so like the things that I liked when I was much younger and now they're different. They're probably slightly similar but evolved, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, because you get wiser, you become mature, you learn more, you gather more information. Yeah.
So I think I've just kind of just like, you know what, I always feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. Like I'm where I am, and let's just go with it. But what do you really feel like you enjoy is a key thing. Like when I started, I've always liked the numbers thing and the finance thing, which is why I still do the career that I do. But I always know, like every time when I used to get feedback at work, they used to say to me, like, you are your juniors really enjoy like your mentorship or your coaching, or people really feel like they'll come to you to ask questions. And I always kind of felt like, even at school, I used to get that feedback as well. Like I used to teach people like in workshops and whatever. And then I realized, like, every time I had a mentoring session, every time I had a coaching session, I would leave that session with so much joy. Like I'll be so excited. I might probably have been tired before, but once I'm done, coaching session goes from 30 minutes to 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And so those people who on this call who have had coaching sessions with me, you know how much like we can just be on it, and I'll be sharing and talking and asking questions, and we'll just be going. And I just realized just how much I just love it. So I think really the intersection of like what you actually do well, even without really realizing it, and then what you just love, is really where the magic is.
Absolutely, where you can connect it to how it's impacting people. And that's the reason why so many people, as we get older, it's about giving back, because that's how we were created. We were created to help another human being. And it might be a certain demographic, but that is why we were created.
Yeah. Okay, this is so good. A couple more questions, and please keep them coming. We don't have that much time left, but we'll try and get through these 2 at least.
Okay.
So
I'll be succinct when I answer my questions.
We love it. We love it. The question is, I would love to ask, how can I stay inspired at my lowest, especially when things are not falling in place as planned? Great question.
Okay. Yes, I know. Well, when I had breast cancer, I was so low. I was so low. And also I lost a job that I was really, really keen on years ago. But when I look back, actually, I'm thankful even for the period of illness, because I have grown in myself as a result. And if I had taken that job all those years ago, maybe I wouldn't even be here talking to you awesome ladies today. So one easy thing that I started to do and has really set me in good stead is to keep a journal. When you keep a journal, at the end of each week, you write down everything that you've achieved and everything that you're grateful for. In a period of low, when you look back, they think, okay, life's not so bad after all. That's the first thing. Secondly, you've got to be kind to yourself. So if you're really low and you do feel low, you can acknowledge that I do feel low. And then turn your attention to prayer. I found that praying and turning my eyes to Jesus has been a great help. And over time, and when I keep consistent at it, I find myself coming out of the doldrums. And then the third thing is never stop trying. When I was starting out in my career, I went for over 100 different job interviews, and I was rejected one after the other, different companies, rejection, 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 no after no. And you'd get the typical letter, oh, dear Yetunde, it was lovely to meet you, it was fantastic. But unfortunately, we found that there were other candidates whose background and experiences were more closely matched to what we were looking for. And every time I would get that. But when you keep picking yourself up and remembering whose child you are, time and time again, you will have your breakthrough, because no matter how long the night is, the daylight comes the next day. So let me assure you, you will have your breakthrough, because I did. After over 100 rejections, I kid you not, I had my breakthrough. After all the treatment for cancer, I had my breakthrough. When I couldn't pick myself up from that job that it was snatched away from me, I had my breakthrough. So I tell you something, you will have your breakthrough. I mean, I sit on the board of a PLC, a global company, and as a non-executive director, it's fantastic. And I sit on the subcommittees, on the remuneration committee, on the audit, on the nomination committees. And it's great because it's a company that has operations in the US, in China, in the UK, and also recently even in East Africa. And so what I love about it is the responsibility for helping to drive the organization's strategy, being interested in culture, but not doing an executive job. It's fantastic. It's paid, and you get to work with other people senior like you. I just love it. And the way you go from exec to non-exec, you've got to decide that that's what you want to do, because it is quite competitive as well. But this is why God prepares you, because all the years ago when I was getting those rejections, when I get a rejection, I just okay, I'm low for a few hours. I get up. What's that next board? So if you want, you got to decide what you want to do, and then say, what am I going to bring to a board? Do some reading around it. Increasingly, organizations value women on boards, which is fantastic, because today's world needs the kind of skills and capabilities women typically have. Collaboration, helping each other, empathy, listening, being able to orchestrate the kind of capabilities you guys will have in spades. That's what organizations need. And also that's what boards need. So that's the first. And secondly, network. Tell people you're interested. LinkedIn has non-executive jobs advertising. If you want to do a very first one, have a go at becoming a trustee. A trustee is a non-executive director on a charity. So they're usually voluntary. So I'm a trustee, for example, at the Institute of Business Ethics. It's great. I'm a trustee at the Institute of the Education Development Trust, even though that's paid. But you can be a trustee, and you can do that alongside the work that you're doing, because it broadens you. So it's a great career. I absolutely love it. And in fact, I want to even broaden my portfolio. So through networking, tell people you're interested, and be willing to apply for some of the roles that come up as well. And know what you can bring to the boards.
And are there any courses like around corporate governance or something?
Yes, absolutely. So depending where you guys work, depending on the nature of the jobs you have, if you're interacting with organizations like the big accountancy firms, Deloitte, PwC, etc., those organizations will often have training courses or workshops on board governance. One. Secondly, if you look on the internet, you can read a lot of that. The Institute of Directors, the IOD, have that. The Financial Times also have a non-executive director positions training courses. There's an online organization called Women on Boards. So they have online training for governance, board committees, and they also offer, depending on the subscription that you have, you can also become a full-time member where you can see the advertisements for board opportunities across different organizations, and then you can apply for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's excellent. All
You're
right,
welcome.
so we are coming to pretty much round up, but I've seen one last question, which I'm.
Well, you look at their LinkedIn is very good. So I would look at the LinkedIn profile and see their career history. One. Secondly, ask yourself, what would a mentor? Because a mentor is about giving you advice, giving you the benefits of their experiences. Where they might open doors for you. So you got to be clear what you want a mentor for. Do you want somebody who's just going to help you as a sounding board and help you wrestle with some ideas and give you advice? That's one. Or do you want somebody who, because of their status and what they do, might be able to sponsor you and open the door for you here or there? That's another reason why you may want a mentor. Or do you want a mentor who can just spend 1 hour with you to just talk to you about their career history? So it's when you have clarity, then you have a look at the mentor's profile. Or if you don't even know one, you can ask a friend to introduce you to somebody that you know in their network that could provide that. If you're in organization and you want a mentor in your company, ideally go for somebody outside of your division, outside of your department, so that they can be objective and you can feel safe in building that relationship. And once you've then found your mentor, have a conversation with them. And if they say no, you can ask that person, who else would you recommend could mentor me? Because always you want something, make your request, don't be put off by the no, ask for the second option. How can they help you? And then you've got to drive the relationship. When I look at the people I mentor, I say to them, you drive the relationship. I'm not going to chase you. And some do, will on the phone, yesterday, I'm ready for another chat. And then it's great. So I send some dates. Others, last minute, oh, I'm sorry, yesterday, I want to quickly pick your brain. I'm not available. So you have to take your chances. So if anytime you guys have a mentor, know that you are driving the relationship, as you will also mentor others. I'm sure you do. Mary, you probably mentor people. Have them drive the relationship with you. You're not chasing your mentee. They got to chase you because it shows they're interested. It shows they're keen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, and just in terms of like, if I was just to add to that, just when you do find someone who's willing to give you their time, like in some ways you need to, serve them, be respectful of their time, but also actually action the stuff that they give you on and come back with feedback. I think that's one thing that I observe a lot is you give your time and people just go away into the abyss and they disappear. And then
Exactly.
they show up like 2 days before and say, oh, can you help me look at my CV?
And you can't. Yeah. And then you feel bad. You feel bad. Oh my goodness, I can't make the time for you.
I've stopped feeling bad. I think it's just like, well, not really, because
exactly.
Mentoring is about a relationship. It's not like I'm not a school teacher who is checking your CV. It's like it has to be based on a relationship where we're all growing together.
Yeah.
So yeah, so hopefully that helps. So that will be the last question we will take. Guys, honestly, virtual claps for Yetunde Hoffman.
Thank you.
Just being everything. Yeah, just giving us your heart. And
thank you.
Authenticity that you like. This is it. It's still the word I take away from this conversation. It's just being
thank you.
Okay, so with that, I definitely want to just say good evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy November, guys. It's November next.
I know, soon December is coming. Wow.
Can you believe it that it is November next month, in like tomorrow? Well, happy November, and enjoy the rest of your evening and the week ahead. And I'll see you guys soon. Have a good evening, guys. Bye.